All right, and welcome back to another Conquest Corner. For this episode, we are continuing our deep dives through Old Dominion. Again, I'm starting with them first because I know them the best, and we'll be getting to some other factions very soon. For this one, I thought we would go through the very standard Legionnaires and talk about all their sorts of bits and uses and why you're going to see so much of them, and Praetorian Guard. So again, I'm kind of viewing this from the aspect of if you're a dual kit, I want to talk about you at the same time, even if you fit different roles and things like that. I just think it makes more sense to talk of them that way, especially to answer the question, how many of each should you build? As we look at some of these starters that have these sort of units in them, if you look at the old starter, you obviously could build both of them out. If you get the first blood starter, you have that. The brand new starters they're doing, now it's a little bit different. Took a brief pause there because I wanted to pull up the 5th anniversary starter set they're showing up. So that one has... So when it says 24, there's 4 on each thing. So you have to keep that into account. So essentially 6 stands. So you could build them as 3 and 3. We'll talk about the sort of options and ways you might build them. But these are sorts of units that you're going to potentially have a lot of. So I wanted to go through them and discuss why you might actually be taking maybe some Praetorians and where you want Legionnaires and other options. So just as we've done for the other ones, and actually one thing I'll otherwise mention here at the top then, if you are enjoying this, if you're looking to get into Conquest, get into this army, get new Sorcerer Kings, or anything like that, if you have any purchase that you want to do, we do have a discount code put below in the show notes. It's essentially Terrain Kickers. There's also a link so you can click on that. If you use that code, you save yourself 10% on anything that you buy from their web store, and it also gives us some help as well. And especially because, that's essentially how we get help to get more stuff for this game to then be able to show off and use more things in battle reports we do and any other sort of content we do. So if you're looking to save some money and help out the show, down below is the code to be able to use there. So let's take a look at it now. As always, I kind of like to start with who can take them because this is the game of regiments and warbands, essentially. So we want to be able to talk about that. Now, not counting the Fallen Divinity, because it doesn't take any of this, everyone takes Legionnaires. So that is a mainstay option of everyone else. So there is no problem. So mainstay, same thing for the mounted. For the Strategos, mounted or unmounted, they have the same exact what they take. And Ziliarch as well. So everyone can take them that way. As for when we take a look at the Praetorian Guard, if you take a look through a lot of them, they don't have that as an option. So the Archimendrate has a restricted. Fallen Divinity doesn't. Hierodeacon, no options there. We notice, so 2 of them drop here. Most of them have it, but 2 of them drop. You have restricted at Archimendrate. You also have restricted here in Strategos. But you do have mainstay in Ziliarch. So one place I will say now, when I do take them, because I do tend to like having a Ziliarch, that is often a spot where I might put them. Not that necessarily the Ziliarch will go there. The Ziliarch usually will go with my Varangian Guard. But if I'm going to take them, here's not a bad spot to be able to take them. So what we're going to go through now then, once we kind of see where they are, and we're going to discuss the sort of things you can do with them, the buffs you can give them, how these different people help them. Especially probably more so for the Legionnaires. But let's get into them and discuss them a bit. So you're looking at 120 or 160 points. Actually, for this, one second. Just want to expand the window a little bit more. I do still need the side here. So for anyone watching, as always, if you're watching, I'll show all this stuff as we go through. Otherwise, I will talk about it. So Legionnaires are 120 points. Praetorian Guard, you're paying 40 more, so you're paying 160 points for those, for 3 stands, of course. Both of them are sitting at move 5. Both of them are at clash 2, so they're at that more typical sort of Old Dominion clash type numbers. They both have an evade of 1, and now they have some differences. So in every other stat, the Praetorian Guard are 1 better. So Legionnaires are 4 attacks with 4 wounds on 1 defense. Praetorians are 5 attacks on 5 wounds with 2 defense. So they're 1 better in attacks, wounds, and defense. When you take a look at special rules, one thing I'll point out first, they both have command models, they both have leaders. In our army, that is something because a bunch of our models don't. All of our brutes do not have leaders. Our ghosts don't have leaders. Essentially, if you aren't purely humanoid, you don't get leaders in our army. So that's actually something to pay attention to here. Special rules, they both have shields. So they're both looking at 1 extra on their defense. So defense 2 or defense 3. Both animate vessel, of course, both terrifying. Legionnaires have support too, because Legionnaires have spears. So from the ranks that aren't touching, I will tell you right now, I usually don't worry about the support too, because I'm often not taking more than about 3 in a block. But if you happen to take a large block of them, you are getting extra attacks from the supporting ranks. That is the bonus special rule that they get. The Praetorians don't have any. When we take a look at Memories of Old, Legionnaires get Phalanx. Phalanx is interesting. So you get 1 extra on your defense. So that can put them now to defense 3 in the right arcs, of course, because they have a shield. Shield, you have to be in the front arc to do it. And so is Phalanx. So you get 1 plus both of those. You're at 3. Furthermore, though, stands in this regiment, including currently attached characters, cannot benefit from Inspired. Remember, at Tier 3, we're auto-inspired, so that doesn't help. You don't count as inspired at any point. So they effectively will be hitting on 2s no matter what if Phalanx is off. Its charge distance is always March value plus 3. So they're move 5, plus 3, 8, so they have a fixed charge value of 8. And can occupy garrisonable terrain. I don't play with a lot of garrison terrain, so maybe you do, and that could matter. Keep in mind, Memories of Old, it works at Tier 2 like a draw event, which means it's a choice. You don't have to take it. So you can choose on this Memories of Old not to have it go off, so you don't have to force yourself into Phalanx. If you're looking to be defensive, it's useful. But if you, I want these guys to get 9 inches to tie down that unit that's going to be a problem that I'm trying to keep away from my Cataphractii, my Varangian Guard, because I want them to charge something else. If you have Phalanx up, you can't charge it. But what's also nice is if you have Phalanx up, you know exactly your number. You always know you're getting 8. So you're getting essentially that sort of 50-50 on the charge because you are rolling better than the 1-2 getting essentially to the 3. So if you know they're 7-8 inches away, you can guarantee you do it. Because let's face it, I mean, we've all had the case where we needed a 2 on the charge and we rolled a 1. We need a 3 and you roll a 1 or a 2. You get unstoppable rerolls and you roll a 1 and a 2 and you need a 3. So it absolutely happens. For Praetorian Guards, their Memory of Old is Bastion 1. You get +1 to the defense until the end of the round. Remember, they do have to go for it, so they start at defense 2, +1 for shields 3. They can get the defense 4. They do need to go for it to happen, but defense 4 is actually quite good in this game. So I'm going to go through a little bit more of the Legionnaires first, kind of discuss them a little bit in more, you know what, let's do Praetorian Guard first because I think they're going to be a lot faster. Both units could take icon bearers. Icon bearers just mean, in general, that the main thing is when the officer stand is removed, 1 extra power, or standard bearer. That's the same sort of natural standard bearer, +1 on your second move, and reroll charges. March up, yeah, unstoppable. There it is. So for upgrades on the Praetorian Guard, they can take a Profane Reliquary. I haven't. It gives you Aura Death 2. Aura Death 2 is good. What I will say is if you're looking at taking proxying, say, units like Cultists, if you're taking an Archimandrite where you're upping units, Aura of Death and things like that, now you can get some respectable numbers. I honestly rate that higher on Praetorian Guard than I do Legionnaires. The reason why I rate it higher, I find Legionnaires' job is to be cheap, to fill in mainstays when I need them for cheap, and to get in the way or score backfield objectives. Praetorian Guard being 40 extra points means I don't want them just sitting around. They have to do something for me. And they do have the extra attack. And they do have the little bit better defense. So a Profane Reliquary there, when you are defense 4, you're going to get some Aura Death hits onto some people first. Means that you could knock down some of their numbers. And you're more survivable and your better defense, better wounds, so you can live out those swings. Other option for them is a Dark Cenotaph for 25 points as well. Your command stand counts as 2 additional stands. My apologies. It counts as 2 additional stands. So essentially, your command stand counts as 3 stands for the purchasing objectives. I don't take it personally. I don't think there's anything bad about it. I think if you're worried about, again, that's probably better on Praetorians, and not bad on Legionnaires, because they can take it as well. Because if you're going to be one of those mid-board objectives where you're not truly fighting it, but you're both trying to put something there just to kind of take it from the other person, that means your little 3-pack can now essentially count as a 5, and that might be enough to outnumber them. You're not going to survive very well if they can swing at you, but we've all had cases where the 2 are sitting off to the side and essentially slap fighting because neither one's really doing that much to each other, but they're just trying to grab that extra spot. They had a 4-pack and they're taking it from you the whole time. So Praetorian Guard, if I'm going to take anything, I'd probably take the Profane Reliquary instead. I would probably take that maybe with an Archimandrite, and now with that Archimandrite, I can up that number to be even higher, especially if I can get it close to a 5. Now you're really talking. So Praetorian Guard are in a weird place. And maybe if we get into the weird place, let's talk about a little bit of their uses and where you could put them. Like I said, if I take them, I tend to take them with Ziliarch, because the Ziliarch needs a mainstay choice, and Centaurs aren't out right now. Legionnaires, everyone can take those, that's fine. But if I want to take him, I want the Varangian Guard, maybe the Nathati, but I probably want Varangian Guard, which means I need something. Praetorian Guard aren't a bad option there. Again, you are paying a little bit more, but I've absolutely had it where that extra wound saves me. I've had on more than one occasion, the one time I remember the best, is I was off to a far objective on the side. I believe I charged the T-Rex from Wadroon. Maybe it was the other way, but I think I charged. And then when it swung and hit me, I would have been wiped out if I was 4 wounds. That extra wound, that extra defense kept me around a few more turns, and it actually took him down. I believe they took him down, if not, almost took it out, and then something else finished off the job. So sometimes that extra wound, sometimes that extra defense really makes a difference. You are going to stick a lot better. So if we're looking at, say, Ziliarch, I kind of like him with different units. If you don't have Varangian Guard or Nathati yet, which will be the next box I'm going to talk about, putting him with the Praetorian Guard is the next best thing. That's the unit that you'll put him with. Obviously, if you're taking a look at some of the blessings or things like that, you could take. Kentarch is always nice on that because it gives a nice bubble. Them having Inspired is necessary because you're only hitting on 2s. You have no cleave, no nothing like that. So you just need dice. You need to be able to be hitting on the 3s. The 2s isn't enough. So you need that one extra. For other things, it's the normal sort of extras you would give to him. So if you're dueling him out, if you're putting him out for dueling, what we did in Life Echoes in Eternity isn't necessarily bad. Gladiator isn't bad for him or their Satigos option. You're essentially looking at making them a better bubble to deliver him. Maybe you don't want to take Varangian Guard. They're more expensive. They're heavy. They're coming out in the game later. They're going to be a little harder to position. Maybe you're avoiding that. Maybe you want this guy to be a blender on a stick. So, here's the horse that's going to bring them over there kind of thing. For other pieces, retinue-wise, I would be buffing him. I wouldn't be worrying about Regalia, because Regalia is adding attacks to the command stand. Those attacks aren't that great and wonderful. I don't care about making it 8 attacks instead of 6 if I'm only hitting on 3s and I don't apply any minuses to you. Or ways to get through other special rules you have or anything like that. So I would probably be taking more of combat for him. Again, if he's in that unit, I want them to be a delivery vehicle. If your goal is to keep things cheap, you're always going to choose Legionnaires. So if you're taking Praetorian Guard, you're taking them to do something. That's something that they can do. If we look at Strategos takes them as a restricted option. I don't take them with my Strategos ever. The reason being, personally, I like running some Cataphracti. And Cataphracti are my restricted choice. Which means if I want to take Praetorians here, I need to take 2 mainstays. The Centaur are not out. So if you're playing competitive, you can't use them. If you're playing for fun, proxy some Centaurs. Have fun with them. I've been using that. I've done at least in one game. I want another game or 2 under my belt, and then I want to talk about Centaurs. But I'm taking probably the Nathati if I want a cool combat unit for my mainstay, or Legionnaires if I want cheap. And I'm doing that to take the Cataphracti. If I'm taking the Nathati, I probably also don't want to have to take Legionnaires as well to get my Cataphracti and my Praetorians. If you, for some reason, don't have Cataphracti, get them. Use our code, save 10%. So get them a little bit cheaper. But that's kind of what their Strategos does. That's his thing. That to me, when you take him, that's really what you're looking for. Or you're maybe because you're looking at an athlete. So for his options, I don't play him as viable to that. I do think his supremacy works very nice for them. I don't think the Ziliarch's supremacy works very well for them, because the Ziliarch supremacy is one of your combat units in your warband get to fight twice. Essentially, get an extra action that lets them just fight again. You're not that great at fighting because you don't have any other good rules that really help you out with that. When I think of the Strategos, better in general, because I might be able to count as being inspired when I need it, or I can at least count as tier 2, so at least I get my draw event, I get my Bastion for free. And the free reform could absolutely come in handy. You could rearrange your shape and all. But again, he's not going to be the vehicle. My Anatheti are my vehicle, or my Legionnaires if I'm keeping them cheap. So I don't really rate them there personally. I don't think it's really a great option. Hierodeacon has to be... Hierodeacon doesn't take them. My apologies. Archimandrite. I forgot. I'll be honest. I forgot the Archimandrite takes this. When I said it, I was like, oh, yeah, barely anyone takes... Oh, wait, the Archimandrite does. And again, because I don't think it helps. The Archimandrite, I need a mainstay. I'm usually taking Legionnaires. And then if I'm taking Archimandrite, I'm taking Moroi or Morty, or I'm taking Bone Golems. I could see if you wanted to take Cares as your mainstay, and now you have to put this Archimandrite somewhere, so maybe you take the Praetorian Guard restricted option, because you want your Archimandrite in something a little bit heavier. So I can absolutely see it there. If I'm going to do it, maybe that's what I do. I either take it with Ziliarch to give him his mainstay sort of bubble that's a little bit survivable, or the Archimandrite to give it a mainstay, or not mainstay in this case, a restricted but more survivable bubble, because the Legionnaires and Cultists are going to go down a lot faster. The Praetorian Guard have a lot better chances of staying up in general, I find at least. So you could absolutely do it there. Now, this is a model that can buff them, obviously, has abilities to heal them, could up their, or give them Aura of Death. So if you took that Profane Reliquary and you have, it's what, Dark Immolation? Is that the one? I always forget, yes. I always forget which one's which for the spells. You could absolutely get to Aura of Death 5. Now you're really surviving, especially if the Archimandrite's sitting in this Praetorian Guard unit. You obviously can heal them up with your, with your Hazlia's Touch. You have your Blasphemous Power you could use, so you could count their tiers higher if you need to get them their Bastion easier. Retinue-wise, the Retinue is not going to help. The Retinue is really, Dark Blessings are really for the Archimandrite. It's to really up her. So I'm seeing for the Praetorians that you could take them here to give a more survivable bubble. A Ziliarch for a cheaper than Varangian Guard bubble. But that's about it. Praetorian Guard are honestly kind of in a bad place. And I know I'm not alone on this thought. I know there's other people in the community that I've read who feel the same way. And if you like them, if you like the look of them, and you want to run them, I will never tell you no. Go and have fun. You can have fun with this unit. But you're going to probably find that they don't, in general, perform as good as you want. They probably don't do as much as you would like or quite as much as you need. And at their higher points cost, you're going to have a little bit less to work with, especially if you want to take a couple upgrades on these guys. Now you might be looking almost at close to a small Varangian Guard unit in cost. And I'd rather have them. A Natheti unit. I'd rather have them. I'd rather take Legionnaires and save those 40 points and be able to put... it's been a couple weeks since I've played, so now I'm forgetting all the special equipment and stuff like that. Unholy Mastery. So my Archimandrite can cast off 2 spells reasonably reliably, or take a couple levels of the Retinue, because I absolutely want Retinues on my Archimandrites. I'm not sure what they need. I don't know if maybe they should go to Clash 3. Maybe if they were at Clash 3... Let me pause this real fast. Spilled my water a little bit there. I don't know if they were Clash 3, if that would make up for all of it. Again, they're better than Legionnaires, but I don't... and maybe, technically, 40 points is appropriate. That might be true. I don't get very deep into the finagling of the points. That's just not personally the way I do things. But I don't see a very good place for them in the army, because I could save some points and do more, or spend a little and do more with it for points level, essentially, if you think about it. Because I have this savings, I can now afford more stuff. And what they're doing, are they outperforming that much? Or I can spend a little bit more and get what I feel is a lot more from it. Where they sit in that weird middle ground of, they're a little too expensive to be the cheap option, and they're not quite good enough to be your expensive option. So I personally don't rank them very highly. I will put it this way. I have built 12 stands of this box. I built 3 of them as Praetorian Guard. I built 9 stands the other way. And I'll be honest, I built 3 stands of Praetorian Guard. One, I wanted to have some difference. But also, and actually, some of it I bought from someone, so some of it was actually pre-built. So I kind of had like 2 stands already built. But I didn't build extra stands. I built some of them because I have some of the special shields that they used to give out. And I wanted these guys to have those shields, because they're more bodyguard type unit. Not that they have the real bodyguard, but I kind of see them that way. So Praetorian Guard, I'm not thrilled about. Let us talk about the mainstay. The main thing that most people are going to have is Legionnaires. Especially right now, while cultists are not out. That means for your competitive type lists, competition lists, you can't bring cultists. So Legionnaires tend to be the fill-in, because they're only 20 points more than cultists. They're still pretty cheap, and they serve the job that they have. For other things they can take a few other things, a few other upgrades. They can take an Acolyte for 20 points. It counts as being within range of any spell that says the range is self. Not bad. I don't really care. I'm not too concerned with that. When you look at that, there's not a lot that we would do that cares about having a spell of range self. That's the Hierodeacon's spell, but you don't really need that. For our purposes, thinking about it, I'm not really sure. Where else are we going to be used that? If they're priests... excluding the range self. So you always count in range unless it's range self. Okay, that's better. That's a good bit better. For 20 points, I never run these guys more than like 3, maybe a 4 block. So I'm not so worried about the spells. Maybe the heal spell. But oftentimes, my Archimandrite is in this unit. So if I need it, I'll heal it for 20 extra points. No, let them go down. The other option is Optio. Optio gives you Vanguard. So when you come on the board, you can get 3 moves. On a move 5 unit, remember, keep in mind, Old Dominion has problems early in the game scoring. We're slow. Most of our stuff is reasonably slow, / a lot of other armies are a bit faster, at least have a decent amount of early faster units. We don't tend to have that. Our medium, so the first scoring units that we usually have other than Fallen Divinity, are mostly 5 move, which means they're not getting up the board, which means they're not going to be scoring you. I often find the first turn I come in, based off where objectives are, on a 10 move, or / the 11 if you have the Standard Bearer, you might not be making it still. The Vanguard will get you there. I know some people who swear by Optios in all of them. I personally don't, because my guys are going to hang a little bit further back, but that's me. I'm trying to keep them a little bit cheaper. Although if you're taking an upgrade for them, I'd probably take the Optio. If I had the spare points, that's the upgrade I probably want. Standard Bearer, I don't care about, because as soon as your Phalanx is up, okay, you get 1 extra inch on if you double move. Useful. And reroll charges is useless, because once Phalanx is up, your charge is 8. Unless you choose not to have it up. Okay. Icon Bearer, I could see if you're going to be running Hierodeacon and your goal is to get rid of them, then absolutely that's an option as well. Because then if you use Dark Shepherd, that last stand, that means a 3-pack is really worth 4 points of Dark Power. Again, though, I tend to keep these guys super, super cheap. I take them at 120. If I happen to have 135 available, yeah, I'll take an Optio. But I don't really take any of the other upgrades. For the ways that we use them here, currently for Hierodeacon, that's where she goes. Because when I'm playing for fun, I put her in cultists. But if there are no cultists available, which for a tournament there wouldn't be, goes in Legionnaires. It's the next cheapest way. Can't go with Centaurs, can't go, and Assassins aren't out yet anyway. So it's really one of the only few options that she can go in currently. Once cultists come out, though, she's going in cultists. I want her early. Turn 2 is a little too late. I want her turn 1. For things that she doesn't necessarily help them out so much. They're more of a bunker for her and a requirement. They're attacks. And I view them essentially as attacks. One option is, since she could Dark Shepherd into that unit, you could plink them off yourself if necessary. And I will be honest, late game sometimes, my Hierodeacon doesn't do me any good. Maybe just is a good delay tactic of a card to put down to, make your opponent have to do something before you do something with the unit. So I've absolutely had times when that problem goes away and I get the power from it and I'm happier with that. So, not a bad option. Archimandrite, this is usually what I take from Archimandrite because Legionnaires are a bit cheaper. She can heal them up. Like I said, my general way that I run this, if I'm running both, the Hierodeacon will take a stand out of the Archimandrite's unit, and the Archimandrite will then heal that stand back. So that way they're always kind of at that level, and they'll march up the board towards those objectives reasonably together. Your heal is 12? I want to say 12. Am I right on that? 12-inch range. 12-inch range is pretty good. So you can heal into your own unit. You don't care about the distance. Or you can heal into, if you have a third unit, sometimes I have a third one, and I'll just be plinking and healing out of that one, which can sit between the two. So that Dark Shepherd is out to 12. So potentially they could be almost 24 from each other and working through a unit in the middle. So a lot of our missions have objectives to the ends. Sometimes what I'll do is they'll both walk up the edges to go sit on backfield objectives, a 3-pack of Legionnaires in the middle, and they're just plinking along that one. That 3-pack of Legionnaires in the middle, when the time comes, when it's warranted, will push forward to a middle objective, or will charge into you, maybe with a known charge of phalanx, to tie you up, just to make sure you don't get the charge on the thing that I want, or to keep you out of position a little bit longer so I can walk past. So a little bit of what Hierodeacon does for them. The Archimandrite, of course, does the same sort of things that we talked about for other ones. Could up their aura of death. I've done that before, where I've gotten locked in and I'm trying to plink off some more wounds off of people. You could use Hazli's Touch to heal them up, of course. I don't really take them with Ziliarch. If I do, what I'll say is I take them with Ziliarch if I want to keep it cheap. I'll take them because I'll take it as a stand of Legionnaires so I can get to my Varangian Guard for cheaper. I know you can take the Varangian Guard with the right banner, so you can just take them without, but I'll take a unit. Strategos is often... honestly, Strategos I don't think ever takes them because I take an Athete. So that way I can open my Cataphracti. You absolutely can. Again, if you don't have an Athete, I think it's the option you'll take if you don't have the Athete, of course. But if you have an Athete, I think you should take those. So if I'm going to take it, it might be with Ziliarch. They're a bad delivery system for Strategos or Ziliarch because they're not survivable. You are 4 wounds a stand. You are defense 2/3 of phalanx. If someone hits you in a side or elsewise, you're defense 1. And let's face it, if someone actually wants to hit you, they might have some minuses. So maybe now you're, say, defense 2, even defense 3. You're only 4 wounds each. If they make you really roll some saves, you might lose some stands really, really fast. Move 5, you're slow. Clash 2, especially if you have phalanx up. Yeah, you're a little bit more survivable. You don't get inspired. You have 4 attacks each on 2s. You're not really getting swings in. You could luck out, of course, but yeah, you're not really getting swings in, so you're not really damaging them. So you don't survive that great. Defense 3 isn't terrible, but you don't survive that great. You don't resolve, so that helps, but you don't survive that great. You'd have low wounds, and your attack damage profile is really, really bad. So they're not a good Strategos delivery system if you try to buff your Strategos out with treasures to make him more fighty. But he's a cheaper option than Athete if your only goal is, I really want Cataphracti, so I'm taking our Strategos, I'm keeping him cheap, I'm making him my Warlord because I want Glimmers of a Golden Age, because to me that's absolutely a great ability. So I've done that before, just to keep it cheap. I've done it where... actually, more for the Ziliarch. I've done it where I take the Legionnaires. They're my 3rd little Legionnaire unit sitting between the other 2. And the Ziliarch, though, he's in the Varangian Guard. I could see the argument for putting him in the Praetorians if you're trying to keep things cheap. I would never put him in the Legionnaires. Unless, you're going to hop him out later to a different unit. Sure. If that's your goal. If, the the Strategos has the unit that you want him in or something like that. So they're a cheaper way to hopscotch. But otherwise, no, they're not going to survive well enough. You're not going to be able to make them damaging enough at all. And if you get into combat, yeah, your Ziliarch could be doled out to the nines. So that way he can take out other characters. But when their unit swings in and hits these Legionnaires, your Ziliarch's going to evaporate pretty quick because the unit's just going to go away. Maybe they won't if you take a giant block. You do the city-states route and you take like 6 of them and you do them in like a 2 by like 6 going back formation. Yeah, but we don't have the other rules. We don't have the rules that lower your impact and stuff like that. And support 2, okay, but you don't have any bonuses on your to hits. You can't get inspired if you're using your thing to get better defense. So your big trade-off, you're lacking a bit of that there. So those are the ways I see them. Again, if you're taking, say, Mount or Strategos, Legionnaires are the cheap way to get your Cataphracti that your Mount Strategos is going to go in. If you got the points, I take Anathety. If not, Strategos. He's cheap. Legionnaires. They're 70 points cheaper. And a little 3-pack does good. A little 3-pack can score some objectives. It's a nice, good target for your Hydra Deacon Stark Shepherd ability. And they're nice to block up the opponent with. And even though they're not super survivable, their defense 3 without resolve does mean they have to fight into a little bit. Which means if they're hitting you with a lighter unit, you should be able to stick at least that first swings so that we are not immediately evaporating and you're tying them down for a little bit longer. You won't last for very long, but you'll probably at least blunt them for an extra turn, and that might give you the chance to kind of hit them into the side with something. All right, so talking about both of these then, what's my recommendations? 1, you need Legionnaires. Get Legionnaires, build Legionnaires, get them for 10% off by using our code. Get Legionnaires. You absolutely need Legionnaires. There's some times where they almost feel necessary, especially right now when we don't have everything in our army. For some of these spots, they're pretty much necessary. For things like I said, like the Hydra Deacon, you don't really have other options to go in. Okay, so you're having to take them. Archimendrate, it's for the current moment, it's your best option. For the other 2, not necessarily the best option, but might be the cheapest mainstay option to get to the things that you want, to get to this nice special things. So you need Legionnaires. My suggestion to have available is 3 packs of 3. You could then, if you wanted to run them a little bit bigger, you could run them as 2 4s. You could theoretically want to run as a 5. I don't think I would, but you could run as a 4 as just a 4-pack or with a character. Be aware if you just run a 4-pack, that means that you can get destroyed with 1 stand left because you could break and shatter by losing 2, then losing 1 more. But if you have the character, it's not going to happen that way. Me personally, though, I run them in 3 packs. I keep them cheap. They're backfield objective holders. They are my vehicles for certain things, and the rest of the list pushes forward to do fun stuff. Praetorian Guard, honestly, I haven't taken them in quite a while. 1, I usually can't fit them. The extra 40 points, I'm usually a bit shaved of points at that point. I'm a little hurting for points. And they are better. I just don't think they quite do enough now that we have the Anathety. Now that we have the Varangian Guard, we have some units that serve a better purpose. I might pay more for them, but they serve a very good purpose where these guys are kind of sitting between, like we said. They're not cheap enough to be the attacks, and they're not good enough to be the expense. So with that, I really don't. So I wish I could be more positive about them. I don't like being negative, especially when we talk about this. And again, if you want to run them for fun, if you're a new player, if you're new and you don't have some of these other units, absolutely run them. They're a great option for a Ziliarch as you start out. Out of that base box where you're getting 6 stands, if your next goal is to start building up some Ziliarchs, you could build some Praetorians, because you could do that, and then you'll slowly go into some of those other units he gets and things like that. But if you're kind of looking at the sort of 2K list in mind that you build towards, I don't think they have a lot of a home. They probably have a home at smaller levels. Maybe they're great in First Blood. I don't play First Blood. But for this game, I would stick to 3-1. Every 3 total units of Legionnaires, if you build them, maybe then build a unit of Praetorian. But if you never get to them, I don't blame you. This is a unit I would like to see some changes whenever they do the Old Dominion changes. Like I said, I don't know what it needs. I think even if you put in the Clash 3, now you got an argument, and now I can see it. They're a bit more survivable, they have more attacks, they got a little bit more wounds for that survivability, the more defense for that survivability, and they can actually hit the broadside of a barn. Ooh, now it becomes something. Now you get some focus out of them, or maybe cheaper, I don't know. But I still don't know if they were more than Legionnaires, if I'd really want them, because maybe they do a little bit more, but I don't know if they do enough more. So take Legionnaires, make Legionnaires. You need Legionnaires. I don't care what army you're running, get Legionnaires. They will improve your army. They will improve the things you do. And honestly, they're also going to help improve your gameplay. Because they're rather fragile, you're going to learn where to place things, how to maneuver things, how to try to avoid certain charges. Since they know once Phalanx is on, they have a fixed charge distance. That means that you can try to bait and work with people to figure out those distances. I've had many cases where people realize, like, okay, I'm a set 8. Well, I'm not worried about swinging. So in reality, I'm a 13-inch charge, because I'm going to move 5 and then get an auto 8. So if you're within 13, I'm just going to tie you down if you moved forward. So those sort of pieces can be really good for you in your game because they are fragile, which means if you play them wrong, you're just going to lose them. And you don't want to lose them early. You need them to score you some objectives, sitting in the backfield, those sort of things. So you can kind of, get to understand, or even when do you do actions? Oh, once I go, then they'll get their memories of old. So, I want this unit to go early because it's going to do something good. But where they're positioned, if I don't have Phalanx, if I don't have the extra defense, or if I don't get into that charge, they're going to do something to me, I'm going to lose them. Those sort of decisions can really come up with Legionnaires, and I think that can really help improve your gameplay, trying to decide when is a throwaway unit, because to some extent they are, because they're the cheapest thing that essentially we take currently. When is a throwaway, and when is it not? And I think all of that absolutely ups your abilities. All right, I think that's it for this one. We keep it reasonably short because Legionnaires, you need them. They're great. Praetorians, not so much. I know I got a little bit away from this for a little bit because things got really busy. So just recorded this now. Probably going to be recording the one about Nathati and Varangian Guard very soon. Tomorrow's probably kind of busy. The rest of this week, I have a board game convention I'm going to be at, and then it's my birthday, so I don't know if I'm going to get to that. If not, though, next week or early next week, I'm going to be getting to that one. I might get to it sooner. For the other units that are not out, I've been proxying cultists for a while, so I feel comfortable talking about them. Assassin, I have not, so I want to proxy them first. The Centaurs, I've started proxying. I want to get some games in with those soon. I might not get it in this week, but next week I will. And then I am going to be printing out something to do as the Profane Sepulchre as well to test that out. Because for the units not out, I want to try them out first so I can talk about them with less theoretical knowledge, more actual knowledge. Next week, my goal is also to record the 100 Kingdoms intro video. And then probably next week start planning what other faction I'm going to. I know there was some requests to talk more about Dweg. I would invite Dan on that for that as well, because he knows it well. But for whatever faction you want to hear next, let me know. If you're enjoying this, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Really does help us out. We got over 1,000. We do thank everyone who does. The other key with that is, of course, that tell other people who play it about this, because it really does help out. The more people see it, the more that we can do all of that. It's all algorithm stuff and to get noticed. And again, I enjoy doing it, but when you see more people looking at it and enjoying your content, it makes you more motivated to do more and more videos. Like I said, I talk for a living, so I have no problem sitting here and talking all day. Let's see, other things related to it. Like I said, if you want to buy some Conquest and you want a discount, code's below. You can use that, save yourself 10%. We also, if you do enjoy our content, we do have a Patreon as well. All of that supports the show, helps us be able to do the things we do and improve things. I want to get back to doing battle reports with this. I'm going to be going in the next 2 weeks to a different game store, and I want to ask them their recording policy with the equipment I have, because if I can record in there, they actually play the game on a day, I can go. So I could go and start recording some games, especially as we get closer to Sorcerer Kings, because there's a decent chance I'm going to be playing those. I'm currently going to be selling a Legion army, and the thought of selling that Legion army is going to buy me my Sorcerer Kings. So I'd really like to be able to do that, to hit the ground running with all of that. So That's going to be it for this video. Look for more Conquest content, more Imperialis content, some Old World content. We're just starting that now. I'm building Tomb Kings. When I spilled before, it's because all my stuff is sitting on top of my Tomb Kings, so I'm going to be working on those. I'm currently printing Tomb King bases in the basement right now. I'm going to go check on my prints. I'm printing trays for Dan. Going to check on all of that. So, on behalf of everyone here at the show, has a good hobby and some great gaming.